The arrival. Night fell quiet over the small village near the mountains. The stars shone brighter than usual, almost like they were waiting for something. Old people sitting outside their homes pointed to the sky, whispering about a strange light moving fast above the trees. At first, the villagers thought it was a falling star, but the light did not fade. It grew bigger, and then the ground shook with a heavy sound. The forest in the distance lit up in blue fire, and smoke rose high into the sky. A group of young men ran toward the forest, curious and afraid. When they reached the crash site, they froze in shock. A small ship, broken and glowing, lay half buried in the earth. The air around it felt heavy, and the metal still burned with strange heat. But the strangest thing was not the ship. It was the figure lying on the ground beside it. It was a girl, but not a human girl. Her skin was pale, with a soft glow like moonlight. Her hair flowed like silver threads, and her eyes, half open, shimmered with faint blue light. She breathed weakly, as if every breath was a battle. When the villagers came closer, they saw something that made their hearts pound. Her stomach glowed, not like light from a lamp, but like something alive moving inside her. It was not the glow of a child waiting to be born. It was different. Shapes of crystal lights shifted beneath her skin, as if she carried jewels in her womb. The men whispered in fear, "What is she? Is she alive? What is inside her?" None of them dared to touch her, but none of them could leave her there either. They carried her back to the village carefully, afraid the strange glow might burn them. Some believed she was a gift from the gods. Others feared she was a curse. The elders argued in silence, not knowing what to do. But before they could decide, black cars and soldiers arrived in the village at night. The government had already been watching the skies. They knew something had fallen. They surrounded the village and took the girl away without asking questions. Inside a secret base far from the eyes of the world, doctors and scientists gathered. They had never seen a creature like her, yet her body was close to human. Machines beeped and screens flashed as they scanned her glowing stomach. The scientists whispered nervously, "Not a child, not a weapon." "Then what is it?" The girl opened her eyes for a moment, her lips shaking as she tried to speak. Her voice was soft, broken, but the words chilled the room. "Save them, or all die." Then she fainted again, leaving only the strange light glowing stronger in her stomach. The soldiers demanded answers. Is she dangerous? Do we kill her? But the scientists shook their heads. No, she is carrying something we cannot understand yet. Hours passed. The glow became brighter, and strange patterns appeared on the walls of the room. The doctors shouted, "It's happening. She is giving birth." But instead of screams or blood, the air filled with sharp light. Her body arched, and glowing shapes pushed out from her womb. One by one, crystal-like jewels fell into the doctor's trembling hands. They were smooth, clear, and pulsing like beating hearts. The room filled with silence. No one dared to move. The girl lay weak but alive, her eyes closing as she whispered again, "They are life, they are hope, protect them." But before the doctors could ask more, one of the jewels cracked with a soft sound. A thin line of light spread across its surface, and something moved inside it. The scientists gasped, stepping back in fear. The jewel pulsed harder, glowing brighter, and the air vibrated with strange energy. The soldiers raised their guns, ready to fire, but the lead scientist shouted, "No, don't shoot. We don't know what it is." Everyone stared as the jewel split open, light spilling into the room like water. Something alive was inside, something the world had never seen before. The doctors leaned closer, their eyes wide, their hearts racing. And at that moment, every person in the room knew this was not just an accident, not just a discovery. It was the beginning of something that could save or destroy all of humanity. Jewels of life. The room was silent except for the sound of machines. Everyone stared at the cracked jewel, waiting to see what would crawl out. The crystal pulsed like a living heart, glowing brighter with every beat. The girl on the bed was too weak to move. yet her eyes followed the jewel as if she already knew what was coming. The jewel split apart with a sharp sound. Light spilled across the room, washing the walls in strange colors. Inside was not a weapon, not metal, not even a child. It was something small, delicate, and alive. A creature made of half flesh and half crystal, breathing with tiny gasps as if it had just entered the world. The doctors froze, too afraid to touch it. The soldiers raised their guns again, fear gripping their hands. But the creature did not attack. Instead, it crawled forward slowly and touched the hand of one scientist. The man flinched, expecting pain, but instead he felt warmth. The creature glowed brighter, and suddenly his head filled with images he did not understand. He saw visions of stars exploding, planets burning, ships flying in endless war. He pulled back, gasping for air, but the creature clung to him gently. The alien girl whispered, weak but clear, "Bond, it bonds with you." Her voice shook as she spoke. Only humans can hold their power. Only humans can decide. The room erupted into chaos. The soldiers argued, "It's dangerous. Kill it before it grows stronger." The scientists shouted back, "No, don't you see? This is knowledge. This is something more than a weapon." The commander growled, "Knowledge can be dangerous too." But before he could order an attack, the other jewels began to pulse. One by one, they shook with strange energy. Light escaped through cracks in their crystal shells. It was like watching eggs about to hatch, each one holding something unknown. The doctors tried to contain them, but the jewels floated into the air, spinning slowly. The machines in the room went wild, alarms blaring, screens flashing. The soldiers backed away in panic, not knowing if they were about to face monsters or miracles. The alien girl, still lying weak, lifted her trembling hand. She whispered again, "They are life, they are hope. Protect them, or all will end." Her voice echoed in the minds of those who heard, not just their ears. It was like her words carried a force beyond language. The bonded scientist stared at the creature in his hand, tears forming in his eyes. He whispered, "It's not dangerous, it's alive." But then the lights in the base flickered. A deep rumble shook the ground. Everyone turned toward the ceiling as if the sound came from the sky itself. The commander barked orders. "Check the radar. Something is outside." The alarms grew louder, red lights flashing across the room. And above them, in the darkness of space, something answered the jewel's call. The scientist with the bonded creature felt a shiver run through him. In his mind, he saw shadows moving in the stars, ships with burning eyes. He shouted, "They know. They are coming for her." The alien girl's weak voice trembled. "Hunters, they will not stop. They want the jewels back." Her words sent fear crawling through every heart in the room. The soldiers looked to their commander, but even he had no answers. Were they protecting humanity or inviting destruction by keeping her alive? The jewels pulsed together in rhythm, glowing brighter than ever. It was as if they were calling out, sending a beacon far into the universe. The scientist clutched the small crystal creature tightly, whispering, "Why us? Why Earth?" And the girl's eyes opened wide, filled with sorrow, because only humans can save them. The words struck everyone like a hammer. Humans, ordinary humans, have been chosen for something far beyond their world. The jewels, the girl, the visions, none of it was an accident. It was fate or maybe a test. But whatever it was, humanity could no longer hide. The universe had already heard their name. The commander clenched his fists, torn between fear and duty. He wanted to destroy the jewels, to keep Earth safe from the unknown. But deep inside, even he felt something calling to him, something ancient and powerful. The jewels did not just shine. They sang, a faint hum that filled the air like a heartbeat. It was beautiful, frightening, and unstoppable. The alien girl closed her eyes again, whispering her final warning. "They will come. They will kill. Only humans can fight back." Her voice faded, and her body went still, as if she had given the last of her strength. The jewels glowed even brighter, as if protecting her. And outside, far above Earth, the first shadow of an alien hunter ship entered orbit. First contact. The base trembled as the alarm screamed. Red lights flashed across the walls, bathing everyone in fear. The scientists stared at the glowing jewels floating above the alien girl, spinning like stars caught in a storm. The soldiers shouted orders, weapons raised, unsure if they were facing a miracle or a nightmare. The first jewel, the one that had already cracked, rested in the scientist's trembling hands. The small crystal creature inside pulsed with a warm light, almost like it trusted him. He whispered to himself, "You are alive, not a weapon." But in his mind, visions returned sharper this time. He saw worlds burning, armies marching, creatures enslaved by towering machines. And through it all, he felt a question echo inside his chest. "Will you protect us?" The scientist fell to his knees, gasping. He clutched the creature tighter, afraid of losing it. The soldiers moved closer, guns aimed, but the jewel creature lifted its glowing head. It released a hum, soft, pure, and strange, that vibrated through the air. The weapons jammed instantly, sparks flying from their metal frames. The soldiers panicked, shouting, "It's disabling our guns." The creature tilted its crystal head, calm, almost innocent. It was not an attack, it was a warning. The alien girl stirred weakly on the bed, her voice barely a whisper. "They bond with you, they share what you feel." Her eyes flickered toward the scientist, and then toward the jewels still floating in the air. "They choose, they do not obey, they choose." Her words carried weight, making every heart in the room beat faster. The commander clenched his teeth, furious. "This is madness. We cannot let these things roam free." He pointed to the jewels, "Contain them, before it's too late." But before the soldiers could move, a second jewel cracked open with a sharp sound. Another creature slipped free, this one smaller, with glowing wings like shards of glass. It fluttered through the air, glowing brighter with each movement. When it landed on the shoulder of a young soldier, everyone held their breath. The soldier froze, his eyes wide. In an instant, images rushed into his mind, visions of space battles and desperate cries for help. He saw chains binding creatures, ships swallowing planets, and voices screaming across the void. His hand shook, but he felt something else too: courage, strength, and a deep fire inside. He whispered, his voice trembling, "They are afraid. They are running from something." The scientists exchanged nervous glances. "Running? From what?" one asked. The soldier's eyes turned toward the ceiling, as if he could see through the metal roof and into the stars. "They are coming, the hunters, they will find us." The room went silent. The only sound was the faint hum of the jewels as they pulsed in unison. Even the machines seemed to pause, as if the base itself was listening. The commander growled, "Enough of this nonsense. We destroy them now." He raised his hand to signal the soldiers. But before he could give the order, the alien girl's weak voice cut through the air. "If you kill them, you kill yourselves." Her words echoed, heavy and sharp. "They're not weapons, they are keys. Only humans can turn them." Her eyes glowed faintly as she spoke, her face pale but determined. "They chose you because you can give what others cannot. Choice, mercy, hope." The commander's hand trembled, torn between fear and belief. The soldiers looked at him, unsure whether to fire or stand down. And then the base shook again, harder this time. The alarms changed, shrieking with a new warning. A voice shouted from the control room, "Unidentified objects detected. They're entering Earth's orbit." The scientist holding the first creature gasped. In his mind, the visions grew stronger. Dark ships, black as shadow, moving like predators in the night sky. He felt the creature's fear inside his own chest. He whispered, "They've found us, the hunters are here." The commander turned to the control screens, his face pale. Massive shapes appeared in the atmosphere, ships with glowing red eyes scanning the surface below. Their weapons charged, their engines roared, It was not an army of exploration. It was an army of capture. They had come for the jewels, and they would burn Earth to claim them. The alien girl tried to sit up, her weak arms trembling. Her voice was thin but sharp as glass. You must protect them. They will save you, or they will end you. Her eyes fell shut, her body collapsing back into silence. The jewels above her pulsed in rhythm, their hum growing louder, almost as if they were preparing themselves for what was coming. The soldiers and scientists stood frozen between two choices: destroy the jewels and risk losing something humanity had never known, or protect them and bring the war of the universe straight to Earth's doorstep. No one moved, no one breathed. And outside, the alien hunter ships descended lower, their shadows swallowing the night sky. The hunters arrived. The sky above Earth was no longer silent. Black shapes pierced through the clouds, their engines roaring like thunder. People in distant cities looked up, pointing at the strange shadows blotting out the stars. The alien hunter ships had arrived, and they were not here to talk. Inside the secret base, panic spread like fire. Soldiers rushed to their stations. Alarms screamed, screens filled with red warnings. The commander barked orders, but even his voice shook. Prepare defenses, lock down the girl and the jewels. But deep inside, every man and woman knew Earth had no weapon strong enough to fight what was coming. The jewels pulsed brighter, their hum echoing louder through the halls. The small bonded creatures pressed closer to their human hosts, trembling with fear. The scientist felt it inside his chest, a whisper that was not his own. They are coming, they will take everything, they will kill you all. He clutched the jewel creature tighter, realizing the hunters were not just searching. They were hunting with fury. The first blast shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. Lights flickered. Walls groaned as if the earth itself cried out. The hunters had fired a warning shot that cracked the sky open. Everyone in the base felt the power, and fear spread like cold water. The commander turned to the alien girl, still lying weak on the bed. What do they want? Why do they follow you here? Her eyes opened slightly, glowing faint blue. They do not want me. They want what I carry, the jewels, your bond, your power. Her voice broke as she added, they enslaved my people for centuries. They will not stop. Not until everything is theirs. The commander's face hardened. He looked at the humans in the room. The scientist clutching the bonded creature. The young soldier with a winged jewel on his shoulder. The terrified doctor standing behind them. This was no longer about science or curiosity. This was war. But it was not a war they understood. Not one they were ready for. The alien ships lowered, their red lights sweeping across the forests and villages. Anything that moved was burned. Trees vanished in fire. Rivers boiled in seconds. The villagers who had first found the girl screamed as they fled, but the hunters did not care. To them, Earth was just another ground to strip, another people to conquer. The base trembled as another blast struck the mountainside, carving a scar into the stone. The jewels responded in fear, their hum turning sharper. They floated higher, glowing so bright it hurt human eyes to look at them. The alien girl whispered, they are waking, they will not hide anymore. The commander shouted, control them before they destroy us. But the scientist stepped forward, his voice strong for the first time. No, don't you see? They're not destroying, they are preparing. The commander turned on him, furious. Preparing for what? The scientist's eyes darkened as another vision filled his mind. Ships clashing in space, humans fighting with the power of the jewels, hunters falling in flames. He whispered, they are preparing for battle. Outside, the hunters made their first descent. Massive claws extended from their ships, tearing through the earth as they landed. The ground split, smoke poured, and the first alien soldiers stepped onto human soil. They were tall, armored in black shells, their eyes burning red like fire, trapped in stone. They moved in silence, but every step shook with deadly purpose. The base filled with screams as cameras captured the invaders. They carried weapons that pulsed with energy, each one strong enough to melt steel. The commander ordered, "Seal the gates. Prepare to fight." But his words sounded weak against the terror marching toward them. The alien girl pushed herself up, pain twisting her body. She looked at the scientist, her voice breaking. "They will kill me. They will take the jewels, and they will use them to end you." She reached for his hand, her skin cold, her eyes burning with sorrow. "You must choose protect them or watch everything fall." The jewels answered her words, glowing in perfect rhythm. The bonded creatures cried out, their voices like chimes in the air. The young soldier felt his body shake, his mind filling with strength, not his own. For a moment, he did not feel fear. He felt destiny. He looked at the glowing jewel on his shoulder and whispered, "Then we fight." The base shook again, harder than before. The first alien hunter slammed its claw against the outer wall. Sparks and dust filled the halls as the soldiers screamed. The scientists ducked under tables. Alarms blared like dying sirens. And then the walls cracked open, light flooding in. The hunters had arrived inside. The first one stepped through the smoke, its armor glistening, its weapon raised. It moved with slow, terrible grace. The soldiers fired, bullets bouncing uselessly off its black shell. The alien turned its head, eyes glowing red, and fired a single blast. The hallway vanished in fire, screams echoing against steel. The scientist stood frozen, clutching the jewel creature in his hands. The soldier with the winged jewel raised his rifle again, but this time he felt something different. The jewel on his shoulder glowed, its wings spreading wide. Energy surged through his arms, his weapon vibrating with power. When he fired again, the bullets turned into beams of light. And for the first time, the alien hunter staggered. The room fell silent for a heartbeat. Everyone saw it. The jewel had given him power. The alien girl whispered with her last strength, "This is why they fear you." And outside, dozens more hunters stepped onto the soil of Earth, their shadows stretching long into the night. Humanity's choice. Smoke filled the base. The first alien hunter lay broken, its black shell cracked, its body twitching as sparks ran across its armor. The soldiers stared in shock. For the first time, a hunter had fallen, and it was not because of their weapons, but because of the jewel. The young soldier lowered his rifle, his hands still shaking. The jewel creature on his shoulder glowed softly, its wings folding as if it had given him part of its life. He whispered to himself, "It made me stronger. It gave me the power to fight." But the scientist shook his head, his voice full of warning. "No, it didn't just give you strength, it gave you its trust." The alien girl lay weak on the bed, her voice barely more than a whisper. "You see now, the jewels are not tools, they are living. They choose who to trust." Her eyes turned toward the humans standing in fear. "If you use them like weapons, they will destroy you. But if you protect them, they will protect you." The commander clenched his fists, torn between rage and confusion. "This is madness. We cannot gamble the fate of Earth on shiny rocks." He glared at the scientist. "You want us to trust them? To let these things inside us? What if they are controlling you?" His voice grew sharper. "We destroy them now before it's too late." The room fell silent. Even the alarms seemed to fade as every eye turned to the commander. The scientists stood frozen, the soldiers gripped their weapons. And in the center, the jewels hovered in the air, pulsing gently, almost as if they were listening. The bonded scientist stepped forward, his face pale but determined. "They're not controlling me," he said, his voice steady. "They show me things, visions of their world, of their suffering." He swallowed hard, the memory burning behind his eyes. They were enslaved, hunted, their power stolen by the same creatures now standing outside our walls. The young soldier spoke next, his voice raw with emotion. "They're afraid. I can feel it. They don't want to rule us. They want us to help them." He looked at his comrades, his rifle still glowing faintly. "They trust us more than they ever trusted anyone else." But the commander's voice cut through their hope like a knife. Or maybe they're lying. Maybe this is how they trick you, filling your heads with images, with false emotions. He slammed his fist against the table. Do you not see? If we bond with them, if we rely on them, we are no longer human. We are slaves to their will. The debate tore through the room like fire. Half of the soldiers nodded at their commander, fear twisting their faces. The other half looked at the glowing jewels with something else. Hope. The scientists argued back, desperate. If we destroy them, we destroy the only chance we have to fight. One voice rose louder. Without them, Earth will fall in days. The alien girl coughed, her body shaking as she tried to speak. Her voice was weak, but her words cut deeper than any blade. Your kind is different. You have something my people never had. Choice. She lifted her trembling hand, pointing at the soldier with the winged jewel. He was chosen not for strength, but for heart. The soldier's eyes widened, tears forming in them. I saw it in the visions. Earth burning, humans screaming, the hunters tearing everything apart. He swallowed hard, his voice breaking. But I also saw something else. I saw us standing against them. I saw us winning. The commander turned away, his jaw tight. Dreams and visions mean nothing. Reality is what matters. And reality is this. If we keep those things, the hunters will never stop. He looked at the alien girl, his voice sharp. You brought war to our world, and now you want us to bleed for it. Her eyes filled with sorrow. No, I brought a choice. Save them, or destroy them. Save yourselves or end yourselves. Her words echoed like thunder, heavy and unavoidable. The jewels pulsed in rhythm, as if waiting for humanity's decision. Then, the ground shook again, harder than before. The hunters outside had begun their full assault. Explosions ripped through the mountainside. The walls cracked. Screams echoed in the halls. The commander shouted orders, but his voice was drowned out by fire and steel. The scientist clutched the jewel creature tighter. The young soldier raised his glowing rifle again. And in that moment, all of humanity's future balanced on a knife's edge. Would they embrace the jewels and fight with them, risking everything? Or would they destroy them, hoping to escape the war that was already here? No one spoke, no one moved. The jewels pulsed brighter, their hum filling every heart with fear and hope alike. And above, in the burning sky, more hunter ships descended toward Earth. Battle for the future. The mountains roared with fire. The hunters broke through the earth, their ships landing with claws of steel. The ground split apart, smoke and ash rising as alien shadows spread across the land. Inside the base, humans prepared for their first true battle. Soldiers lined the halls, weapons raised, though their hands shook with fear. Scientists hid behind shattered machines, clutching their notes like fragile shields. And at the center, the jewels pulsed brighter, their hum vibrating through every wall. They knew the war had begun. The first hunters stormed through the gate, tall as two men, armored in black. Its weapon glowed with fire, spitting energy that melted steel like butter. Bullets rattled uselessly against its shell, sparks flying off without harm. The soldiers screamed, "Fall back!" But there was nowhere left to run. The young soldier with the winged jewel stepped forward. His rifle burned with light, powered by the bond he had formed. He fired, beams of energy cutting through the air. The hunter staggered, its shell cracking, black smoke spilling from the wound. The humans gasped, for the first time seeing their enemy bleed. But more hunters entered, their red eyes glowing like endless fire. 5, 10, then 20 filled the halls, their weapons tearing through walls and men alike. Screams filled the base as fire ate the air. The commander roared orders, his voice drowned in chaos. "Hold the line! Hold the line!" The scientist crouched low, the jewel creature still pressed against his chest. It pulsed with fear, but also with resolve. Visions filled his mind, humans across Earth bonding with jewels, rising as one. He whispered, "We are not meant to fight alone. They want us to unite." The alien girl tried to rise, pain twisting her body. Her voice cracked, but her words carried through the smoke. "Protect them, not as weapons, as life." She coughed, blood at her lips, her glowing eyes dimming. "They gave themselves to you because you can choose to fight with heart, not just with power." Another blast shook the hall, and the ceiling cracked open. Stone and steel crashed down, crushing soldiers in the rubble. The commander's face hardened, rage twisting him as he grabbed a fallen rifle. He fired blindly, his shouts mixing with fury. But deep inside, he knew guns alone would never save them. The jewels floated higher, humming louder, their light blinding. One by one, more cracked open, releasing creatures of crystal and flesh. Some flew, some crawled, some pulsed like living energy. They moved toward humans, pressing against soldiers, doctors, even the commander himself. Every touch was a question, every glow a silent offer. The commander froze as one jewel creature pressed against his arm. For a moment he resisted, but then the visions hit him. He saw the hunters burning worlds, enslaving countless lives. He saw humanity broken, but also rising, fighting with power no one had seen before. And for the first time, his voice faltered. Maybe they are not our curse." The young soldier shouted above the chaos. "We fight with them, or we die without them." He raised his glowing rifle again, energy bursting forth. The creature on his shoulder sang, its wings shimmering like fire. Together, they tore through two hunters, their shells shattering in sparks. Hope spread like fire. Other soldiers reached for the jewels, letting the creatures bond with them. Energy surged, weapons changed, bullets turned into beams of light. Humans who had once feared now stood taller, their eyes burning with new strength. And for the first time, the hunters were forced back. But the cost was heavy. Bodies lay broken, screams echoed, the base collapsing piece by piece. The alien girl's body weakened, her glow fading with every breath. She whispered to the scientist at her side, "They will not stop. Even if you win here, they will come again stronger." Her hand shook as she pressed it against his chest. "Promise me, protect them, even when I am gone." Tears filled his eyes as he held her hand. "You won't be gone," he whispered, but her smile said otherwise. The jewels around her pulsed harder, as if mourning her fading life. The hunters roared louder, their leader stepping through the smoke. It was larger, armored thicker, its eyes glowing brighter than the rest. The commander muttered under his breath, "That is no soldier. That's their general." The final battle inside the base began. Light clashed with shadow, human courage against alien fury. Walls shattered, fire burned, screams echoed through steel. But through it all, one truth grew clear. Humanity could no longer hide. They had been chosen, not for their weapons, but for their will to fight. And as the alien girl's glow finally faded, her last words lingered in the air. "Protect them, and they will protect you." The jewels screamed with light, shaking the walls, binding tighter with the humans who held them. And outside, the stars themselves seemed to tremble. For humanity's first true battle for survival had only just begun. Humanity ascends. The base shook like a dying beast. Walls crumbled, fire spread, and the hunters pushed forward without mercy. The humans fought with their new bonds, glowing rifles and shining blades in their hands. But the hunters were endless, their general leading them with eyes like burning suns. The commander fired again and again, his rifle now blazing with jewel light. He had resisted the bond, but now it was part of him. For the first time, he shouted not in fear, but in defiance. "We are not your slaves. We are not your prey." The young soldier stood at the front, the winged jewel glowing fiercely. Every blast from his rifle struck true. Every strike carried more than human strength. The creature on his shoulders sang, its wings spreading wide. He felt no fear now, only purpose. But even with the new power, the hunters pressed harder. Their general struck, its weapon tearing through steel and men alike. Every step it took was like death itself entering the hall. The scientist clutched his jewel creature close, tears running down his face. Visions filled him again, visions of Earth burning, cities falling, oceans boiling under alien fire. But then another vision came brighter. He saw the jewels rising together, merging, creating something vast, something alive. He gasped, his voice breaking. They're not meant to fight alone. They are meant to unite. The jewels in the air pulsed louder, their hum rising into a sharp cry. One by one, they floated higher, ignoring the chaos below. They spun in perfect rhythm, forming a circle of light. The soldiers stopped for a moment, staring in awe even as fire rained around them. The alien girl's body lay still on the bed, her glow almost gone. But her voice whispered one last time, carried by the jewels themselves. Together, not apart, only together. Then the jewels merged. Light filled the base brighter than the sun. The hunters staggered, shielding their eyes, their weapons faltering. And from that light, a shape began to grow. Not just a machine, not just energy, but something between. A living ship, vast and glowing, made of crystal and steel. It pulsed like a heart, breathing with human will. The bonded humans felt it calling to them. Every thought, every fear, every hope poured into the ship. The young soldier cried out as his body lifted from the ground. Energy wrapped around him, binding him to the core of the new creation. The scientist felt it too, the commander, even the weakest soldier. Every human who held a jewel became part of something greater. Not slaves, not tools, but voices in a chorus. The hunter general roared, its eyes blazing red. It fired its weapon at the glowing ship, but the beam shattered against the light, broken like glass in the wind. The ship answered with a single pulse. The sound shook the mountains, splitting the earth. The hunters outside fell to their knees, their armor cracking, their weapons shattering. For the first time, the hunters felt fear. The humans inside the bond felt something greater than power. They felt each other. Every memory, every hope, every dream. They fought not alone, but as one. And together, they unleashed the light. The living ship soared upward, breaking through the mountain roof. It rose into the sky, glowing against the burning clouds. Hunter ships circled, their claws reaching, their weapons firing. But the ship moved like a living star. Every beam of light tore through the hunters, ripping them apart in fire. One by one, the enemy ships fell, crashing into the earth with thunder. The hunter general screamed, its voice echoing across the battlefield. It raised its weapon for one last strike. But the jewel ship answered with a final pulse. The blast consumed the general, tearing it apart, leaving nothing but shadow and dust. The battlefield fell silent. Smoke drifted, fire burned low, the mountains scarred and broken. But the hunters were gone, and for the first time, humanity had stood against the darkness and survived. The living ship hovered above, its glow softening. The jewels hummed gently, no longer a weapon, but a promise. The humans felt the bond loosen, releasing them back into themselves. But the memories, the unity, the strength, they remained. The scientist whispered, his voice heavy with awe. This is not the end, this is the beginning. The commander looked at the glowing sky, his face hard but changed. We won today, he said quietly, but they will come again. The young soldier, still trembling from the bond, lifted his eyes to the stars. His jewel creature rested on his shoulder, glowing faintly. He whispered, "Let them come. Humanity will be ready." The living ship pulsed once more, then rose higher, disappearing into the night sky. Not gone, but waiting. And as silence returned to the ruined mountain, one truth became clear. The secret of the jewels had been revealed, and humanity, fragile yet unbroken, had taken its first step into the greater war of the stars.